I want to talk to you about something really important today. Of course, most of the things I talk about I think are really important, but in this particular case, this is something we really need to understand. It's basic and foundational to every one of our relationships. And that's the distinctions among being independent, being codependent, and being interdependent. And I want to go into that in some detail today so that you really understand the differences and you can make better choices. It's important for us to realize, excuse me, that we can get into a situation where there is no independence to begin with. So we may have gone from being dependent on friends to being dependent on a partner, and we have never been independent. We may have thought we were independent, but I'm speaking about emotional independence. So emotional independence is I am a standalone person. I'm happy with my own company. I can approve of myself. I do not need other people to validate me constantly, although now and again is nice. But I'm good. I'm good on my own. Well, many people don't get to that place initially in their life before they get into romantic relationships. So first of all, we want to be independent. Now, when people come to me and they say, I'm in a relationship with a hijackal, that's my term for the people who are relentlessly difficult, the people who hijack relationships for their own purposes and then relentlessly scavenge them for power, status, and control. If you're in relationship with a hijackal, you are best to very first, once you realize it, do your own work. People always say, what should I do? What should I do? And I say, if there's no physical or sexual abuse, then do your own work first, because you need to become that strong, independent person, that strong, empowered person who can stand on his or her own before you leave. That would be ideal. So independent means I know who I am. I live in alignment with my values. I am not pushed and pulled by other people's opinion of me in too great a direction. And I know where I'm going and what I want to do. I know what I want to attract in my life. I know what makes me happy. I know what to avoid. So it's a pretty healthy place to be, is independent. And then we decide we want someone in our life. Well, if we're not independent, we may very well be codependent, meaning that I'm going to lean on somebody else. I need the other person. So that may be one person independent and the other codependent, needing the other person for approval. Because a codependent person doesn't know who they are unless the other person validates them. So they're always looking for approval. They're always needy. They always need support. They always need a reflection of who they are in the eyes of the other person in order to feel good enough. Now, sometimes it happens that two codependent people come together. When that happens, oh my goodness, we get an enmeshed relationship. And when that is the case, these two people are completely dependent on each other. They are codependent. They don't know who they are. They're so enmeshed that they have this idea, this romantic notion, they think, that we're supposed to become as one. There's a better way to become as one than to be codependent, that you need someone else to define you. You can't imagine your life without that other person. You absolutely need them. You're desperate without them. You would fall apart and shatter in small pieces. And codependency is a not very pleasant way to live your life. Because what if that other person dies? What if that other person leaves? Who are you? How do you know what to do? How do you know how to get up in the morning? How do you know what pleases you? How do you know what the next best steps for you are? So codependency is unhealthy. What we really want to be is interdependent. Two independent people who know who they are, know what they want in a partner, come together and choose to interact. So they're fine apart, better together, but fine apart, right? Do you see the distinction? I don't need the other person. I want the other person. I'm good. I can stand alone. I can manage. I feel more whole when I'm with the other person. Not, I can't stand alone, I can't manage, and I need the other person. It's a big difference, and especially when we're going to get into the realm of hijackals. Because if you are in a situation where you are codependent, a hijackal has radar for that. They are looking for that. They are looking for somebody they can mold. They're looking for somebody who wants to please them. In fact, they prefer you not only wanted to please them, but you would want to please them to the degree that you would become a doormat and they could walk all over you. And they have radar for that. Just as I tell all my clients, you need to have radar for hijackals. Hijackals have radar for codependents and people pleasers and doormats. Then they can have ultimate power and control. They can say or do anything they want to you. And you'll take it if you happen to fall into that category, or you'll take it for way too long. So they're looking for that. So what can you do? Now, you know about my program, Seeing the Cycles. If you happen to be with a hijackal, or you think you might be, make sure that you look at that program. Get that program. It's a home study program, Seeing the Cycles. You can get it on my website, forrelationshiphelp.com. Click on books and programs. Know what you're dealing with. Then do your own work. Get some help. Get some clarity. Maybe awful things happened to you when you were growing up. We organically become codependent. It's not something we decide to do. It's something that happened to us, and then there we are. So when we wake up and we say, oh, I'm really thinking maybe I think I can't live without another human being, a particular other human being, then maybe I have some work to do. And that would be a great starting point, and I'd love to work with you on that. Because then you will become independent. And when you are independent, you are in a great place to see red flags and to decide what's going on and to decide when something doesn't sit well with you. And you're not about how can I please the other person? How can I get the other person? Because a hijackal is out to get you, and as quickly as possible. So it's a very important distinction. Independent first, stand alone, able to stand up, not needy. Codependent or mutually codependent, not healthy. You don't feel good about yourself. You think that you are defined by the other person. What do we want? Two independent people coming together and creating interdependence, where you have equality and reciprocity and mutuality, where you can talk about anything, where you're safe to be vulnerable, where there's mutual respect and trust. This is what we want. This is what we have to have. And if you don't have it, you can build it. Now, if you're with a hijackal, you can't build it in the relationship. You have to build it within yourself so that you can see what will happen in the hijackal relationship once you become empowered and independent. Because there's no emotional intimacy in a relationship that's codependent. You can't, because you're both afraid somebody will find out, and use the information against you. They'll weaponize your vulnerability. If you're with a hijackal, they will definitely weaponize your vulnerability. If you're with a hijackal, a good example would be that one night you're feeling really, really close to them and everything seems wonderful and you're opening yourself, because as Susan Campbell says, the word intimacy means into me see. So you're opening yourself, letting them see in, and maybe you say something, and the example I've used before, like, I'm really afraid of the dark. And your hijackal partner says, oh, I didn't know that about you, honey. That's awful. Tell me about that. And you tell them. And you think, oh, we had a beautiful moment. And then you're out in public somewhere, maybe with a couple of other couples. And all of a sudden, out of your hijackal partner's mouth comes, oh, don't worry about her. She's afraid of the dark. There you are, exposed, vulnerable. What you thought was closeness and intimacy turned into a weapon to be used against you. And when there's no emotional intimacy, we're never going to be happy in a relationship. You know how it is if you've been with a hijackal. You crave emotional intimacy. You crave that person seeing you, caring about who you are, knowing what it is you want and need, and the same coming from you. That would be this, but it isn't, because when we're with a hijackal, we get more and more like this because that's what they want us to do. And so we then have to realize, whoa, I was an independent person before I got with this hijackal. Let me get back to that place. So the three things today: independence, yay; codependence, no; interdependence, yes. Okay, clear. Remember, you can always contact me at forrelationshiphelp.com. Come on over, get my tips for relationships newsletter, see all the things that are there for you, get the Seeing the Cycles program, or go to my YouTube channel, For Relationship Help. Lots there for you. And if you want intimate conversation, become a member at Focus on Forward. You can do that at forrelationshiphelp.com. Talk soon, and let's move towards independence. Okay? You got it? Great.